Tracy. Tracy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm here at Earth Dance Clophill with Tracy and just having lunch, and Tracy reminded me that she was in my workshop this time last year, and she's got a story to tell about a mischievous child in spirit and its connection to her past, possibly past life. So over to you, Tracy.
So yeah, I did Christian's house clearing workshop and talked about a sort of 78-year-old spirit boy that we had in the house. We have an old house. Wasn't sure if he was connected to the house or connected to me, and that was, interesting to do with a past life regression I'd done at Earth Dance previously. And Christian said to me, well, have you had a conversation with this boy? And I'm like, well, no, it hadn't even occurred to me to do that. So sometime after Earth Dance, once I found my feet again, I decided to do a smudging around the house. And when I got into the room where we sensed most of the activity, I did actually sit down and have a conversation. And when I started having the conversation, I felt a bit silly to begin with. And then it felt like the most natural thing in the world. And I started to get a sense of why he was there, that there was a connection to the house, but I didn't really get what that connection was, and why he was hanging there. But one thing I'd said to Christian in the workshop was that I actually quite like him being around. He's quite fun, he's quite mischievous, he's friendly, and I thought I'll miss him when he goes. And Christian was like, but you're hanging on to that energy, that's not...
Yeah, you're stopping him from moving on. Yeah.
So I in my conversation, I said, I like having you around, but it's okay for you to go now. You don't need to be here anymore. And since then, we haven't heard anything from him. And I do miss him, but he's obviously moved on. In a past life, I discovered I was as a chap who had a boy of a similar age, and the boy sadly died, and the father didn't. He felt like he'd let his son down, he'd let his wife down, he couldn't handle it, and he took his own life. And the child in spirit was with him when that happened, and when I saw that, I couldn't understand why the child wasn't stopping him from taking his own life. And then it was only doing later work that I found out that the child had already passed. So then I was like, is the child in the house connected to me? Is he connected to the house, or could it be both?
The thing with all this work is that there's an interlinked story with our soul, our journey, our ancestry, family, the land, the house. And it's kind of like all these things come together ultimately for healing, for resolving something. And, this whole concept of space clearing or ghost busting, which in my book is a no-no, because it's about understanding why that child is stuck, what's his story, and being seen and heard and honoured. And that's when that child or person can actually release, when they've been heard and understood. And in the release of that stuck spirit, it actually releases something in you because you're connected. And I think you said that the house actually called you.
Yeah, it was a whole series of synchronistic events, how we ended up in the house that we're in. We were due to live somewhere else and it fell through, and somebody told me about this one, and it was a whole story, but it was kind of...
And I find that when that happens, and somebody emailed me the other day, and it's like the third time they tried to buy the house and it came back, and they lost it and it came back, and now they finally got it. So it's like when that happens, there's something significant in the connection.
Why you're meant to be there. Yeah. And it did feel like that when we got that house.
Yeah.
So.
Wonderful. But you said something that when you were in the workshop last year, your husband didn't, something about something going on at home.
So my husband didn't know I was doing Christian's workshops here. And the day that the workshops were due, I think I may have done part 1 and was due to come into part 2, and in between my husband texted me and he said, There were some very strange things going on last night with our ghost. We've got the touch on lights, bedside lights, and he woke up in the morning, they were both on. Various other things that had happened through the night, and it just made me chuckle as if this boy was going, yeah, I know you're going to Christian's workshop, but it doesn't really matter what you do, I'm still here and I'm still going to play up.
Yeah.
So that it did make me chuckle.
Yeah.
So
That's lovely.
Quite mischievous young boy.
So there we go. That's the story of the mischievous child, and many more stories. If you want to visit my website, and lots of videos there on lots of different subjects to do with energy, spirit release, houses, and our relationship to them. So thanks for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.